Hey, fellow theme park fans, England team, the homegrown tourist here, and holy Toledo, do we have something to talk about? Zippity doodah, zippity day. My, oh my, it's going away. All righty, we are talking about Splash Mountain tonight, and with me to help out is the real Dr. VENKMAN, except no substitutes.
So especially not a frog.
Right, and we've got a special guest. Today, we have a guest. Tim, POTUS Thump, how are you? You are a big Disney fan like myself, and you actually go to the parks like myself. So, and I know you have a lot to say on this. So the whole thing is they finally made the decision. They're going to change Splash Mountain from Song of the South to Princess and the Frog. What do you have to say about it? The floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here on this channel for the first time. I've been on your channel before, but you have so many of them with so many different themes that it's just ironic that I haven't been on the Disney one yet. Well, it's funny because I have a multitude of things I can say about this, and I'm going to have to keep some of those opinions for your political channel. But as far as the most harebrained decisions that you can make as a company, this is probably the worst for numerous reasons, which I'm going to try and boil down to a very short list. But we know why they're doing it. They're doing it because in the wave of kind of the criticism that's been happening and the need for, I guess, self-flagellation that a bunch of these companies are doing, this perception of race relations being so bad in the country, that they just thought, well, all the sins committed by Song of the South that are present in the DNA of the ride Splash Mountain, those need to be erased altogether. And I don't even know where to really begin with this, because Song of the South is actually probably one of my top 5 favorite Disney movies of all time.
Really?
Yes, most people have not seen it because obviously it has not left the vault in a number of years. But I think if you ask your average person on the street, what is Song of the South about? They're going to give you this answer, and the answer is, oh, I heard that's the racist Disney movie where they had the tar baby and it was about slavery and it's kind of just a hot button issue. And objectively, that's not true. It takes place during Reconstruction. Yep. All the black people in the movie are the heroes. Uncle Remus is one of the kindest folks that you could ever meet. Like, you, as a kid, when you watch it, you want to be with him because he's the storyteller, and he actually is the moral compass of the movie. If anything, it's actually the white kids who are the brats. I mean, for heaven's sake.
And he's the only one that has his stuff together in the entire movie.
That's right.
Yeah, the little white kids are psychopaths. Don't they try to kill a puppy?
They try to kill a bag of puppies, if I'm not mistaken. They try to drown them in a river. And so in this kind of morality play of, and it's kind of interesting because I guess the theme of Song of the South is that this kind of white family, they're going through some tough times because as life is getting better and as jobs are changing and stuff like that, the parents don't have the time to watch their children. And so it's this idea of the traditional family kind of being shifted around.
Well,
and
they're getting divorced.
Right.
What's going on. The mother and father are having troubles, and that's why the little boy, he seeks guidance. There's nobody in the house to guide him, and he finds it with Uncle Remus.
Right. And so what happens is that Uncle Remus provides it stability. So it's almost this idea that it's not even your wealth that provides your happiness. Sometimes the most humble folks are the ones who are not only happier, but they're wiser too. And so it's great. I mean, Mark actually was the one who provided me the copy of it. I hadn't seen it since I was a little boy. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, this movie is so good. Now the ride, it actually takes it into consideration. And so instead of like Uncle Remus, you have like the bluebird and it's singing. And so a lot of the themes of it remain without any of the racial component. So yeah, Splash Mountain has no racial component to it. It's just animatronics singing to each other. And no matter how much of the DNA you try to get rid of, everyone knows Zippity Doodah, right? Like that's just something that every kid knows about through countless sing-alongs.
It's like, where did that song come from? We don't talk about where that song came from.
Yeah, well, here's another question I have. Is it me, or are they just trading one stereotypical accent for another? Instead of
so here's the weird thing is that
cute Creole. What's up?
And so here's the thing is that what they're suggesting, or what everybody's kind of like, they're they're predicting is that, so right now in Disneyland, Splash Mountain is in Critter Country, and Critter Country is one of those. Here's the thing: they're going to put the black people in Critter Country. No, they're not going to put the black people in Critter Country. What they're going to do is they're going to get rid of Critter Country, and they're going to expand the New Orleans Square Pavilion land of Disneyland. And that will make sense for, Princess and the Frog, because Princess and the Frog takes place in Louisiana. So the New Orleans Square thing is going to be an intuitive change. Disney World, though, like, what are they going to do in Disney World? Because it's in Frontierland.
Yeah.
So if they turn it into like a Louisiana bayou, and it's going to be right next to Big Thunder Mountain, that's not going to make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
Yeah. It's going to be like Six Flags. There's no order.
Well, it's going to end up like the Guardians of the Galaxy Tower of Terror in California Adventure, where California Adventure is, everything around you is California except that one big weird alien building that's got neon all over it. Like, it doesn't fit anymore.
So that raises a question. Do you think they're kind of missing the plot these days? Like,
they don't care anymore.
they don't. Maybe they don't see people as appreciating the theming, therefore they won't try, or maybe they're trying and think people don't pay attention.
I think they're, with all the breakdowns, and especially at Disney World, all the mechanical problems, the rides are down. They had the log ride. Remember that? The jungle ride that broke down. People almost people got wet.
Yeah. For a while, there was a broken Disney ride every 2 weeks.
I think they're catering because they're losing money. This whole COVID was really costing money. They're afraid that all this stuff. That they don't want people coming trying to riot, pick it outside their fence. So they're just going to bend over backwards.
That's my my thing is that they're not going to come out and say it, but they're seeing all these people, these angry, violent killer mobs that are tearing down statues and destroying anything that they see as a physical representation of racism or John Crow laws, or just anything that's a physical representation of what they don't like. And if those people set their sights on Splash Mountain, then they're going to have trouble in the crowded park where families and people are. I mean, remember that meme from last year of those people who got into like a big fist fight at Disneyland?
Yep.
Yeah, at Galaxy's Edge, and the security people just stood by and did nothing. They stood there and watched these people get into a huge fist fight.
That's what they're supposed to do. We're told not to get involved if people start crap out of each other.
But I mean, but if it's worse, if it's just a whole like flood, a whole mob of Antifa or Black Lives Matter or whoever who just come in and just tear the thing down and possibly hurt, other guests who are just there to have fun. I mean, Disney doesn't want that. So if Splash Mountain is there, the statue that these people want to tear down, Disney's probably just preemptively tearing it down themselves.
Basically,
it's capitulating the mob rule, but I mean, I'm not surprised they're doing it.
And that's why I'm going to be honest with you. Aside from it doesn't fit the theming of where it is and everything, I'm not 100% against this.
I like Princess and the Frog. I mean, it's more a matter of principle,
Me too, but I would prefer to see this ride go up between Liberty Square and Main Street, where it belongs.
Right, exactly.
We said that if you don't want to Splash Mountain, turn it into Old Yeller.
Yeller, you shoot the dog at the end.
You shoot the dog on the way up, and you throw him into the grave on the way down.
You still keep the animatronics, you just change them a little bit.
Like, come on, Old Yeller, we're going to the happy place.
Well, there's two things I want to bring up before I have to leave real quick and go do my nightly workout. But one is that, so by replacing with Princess and the Frog, it's ironic, and I like Princess and the Frog a lot. It's actually my wife's favorite movie, but it's funny because if you look at the history of Princess and the Frog, there was a lot of controversy surrounding it because the end product, while being good, they got a lot of input from Black community leaders where it was like, hey, is this offensive? What do we do? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, most notably is Tiana's name was originally Maddie, and that was considered insulting. So, I mean, they bent over backwards to just make sure that they changed that name. Ironically, even though the movie, I think, is fondly remembered because it's good, it honestly underperformed at the box office. So it was actually considered somewhat of a commercial failure. The people they were trying to cater to didn't even show up for the movie. So now here they are, like almost a decade later, and we're doing the same thing? Like, who are you trying to kowtow to exactly with this with this posturing? The other thing I saw trending on Twitter is I saw a bunch of people saying, hey, how come all the people are complaining now about this when they weren't complaining about California Adventure changing the Tower of Terror to Guardians of the Galaxy? And I'm like,
They were.
They were pay attention to theme park news. Like, everyone was having a conniption. But besides that point, the Tower of Terror changing the Guardians of the Galaxy was more in line, less with ideology, but more of the corporate vision of replacing things that they didn't own with their own IPs. So it was less to do with ideology and more to do with what they saw as savvy business. This, on the other hand, I think is just posturing. There was nothing that needed to be changed. There was no clamoring for Song of the South to be removed from Splash Mountain. This was them being basically preemptively virtue signaling and trying to get ahead of it. But I don't know. So I'm just frustrated with it because, Mark and I were talking about this. Have you seen the Imagineering story on Disney Plus?
Oh yeah, love it.
Okay. So it's great. And it was done by Leslie Iwerks. But what I like about it was brutally honest. I felt like as far as a greenlit Disney project could go, they said things in there that I thought were candid, and I was surprised it made it through censors. But the one thing that made me sad was, as you go from the first episode to the last, you notice a change in the mentality of the Imagineers that they interview. The ones in the very beginning are very blue collar. They're very much like white picket fence Americana. Mm-hmm. As you approach the end of it, it's just the wildest people you've ever seen, with like that one guy with like an earlobe with like basically like a kettlebell attached to it.
It looks like a dream catcher.
Yeah,
like he's got a dream catcher in his earlobe. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
And you know what's funny? That guy.
Real quick, Mark. I don't know if you feel this way, Englantine, but Mark and I go every year. It's just a tradition that I've had in my family. But what I'm noticing is that the rides are getting better and better, but I feel like the heart is getting worse and worse. It's all corporatized storytelling. There's nothing in it that seems original.
Yeah, I've noticed that. It also seems to be more and more getting away from what Walt originally wanted, is some place to take the family and enjoy the family, to the rich family. This is catering to the rich,
right? So
freaking much. And you could say that Disney always kind of has, because it's been expensive, even when it was only $18 to get in. And I remember those days. We were only making $3 an hour, so it was considered a bit expensive. But it seems these days, though, if they find out somebody enjoys it, they will take it away from the general crowd and give it to the rich. We found out people like to sit at Tomorrowland Terrace to watch the fireworks. We're going to cordon off that place. We're going to make it a dessert party. And now the only people who could come in are the ones who pay $100.
Well, okay, let me say this, and then I'm going to go because I really have to go now. My buddy's calling me. But one thing I think positively that could happen as a result of what's happening with COVID is, and you know this because you live there, but now they have the reservation system where it's like you don't just have to have a park ticket. You basically have to tell them when you're coming and reserve your spot. I actually like that, because when you're talking about how in the world can you possibly retain your income but open it up so that you can have an influx of people. I think by lowering your basic price point for tickets, but having it be a reservation system where you're not competing for space in the park, I think that would work wonders. I mean, look at the cinema industry. Well, actually, maybe don't look at the cinema industry because they're not doing that well. But before COVID, it was actually something the Europeans had been doing for some years now, where when you go to a movie theater, you pick your seat. So you actually know before you show up if it's sold out, if the good seats are taken, whatever. But this does everyone a favor because it's less stress on the consumer, and it's beneficial for the movie theater because it's better for crowd control. So I'm hoping that, I mean, we always complain about ticket prices going up. I would hope that with Chapek taking Chapek, is it Chapek who's in charge right now, or did he leave?
I call him Cheapik.
Cheap pick, yeah. I'm hoping that they learn something from this, because the Disney parks were something that were to be enjoyed, not necessarily by the major rich, but by people who had the means, at least enough to save up for it. And when I was in school, I mean, everyone in my school went to Disney World, and they were not all rich kids. They were, anywhere between low to middle income. So I'm very curious to see where this goes. But anyway, I got to get going. Englentine, I'd love to be on again. Please let me know when you broadcast this show, and I'll be sure to step on.
We're live. So it's broadcast.
Oh, no, I meant like your next show.
All right.
Whenever it shows up on Twitter, that's when I know.
Oh, yeah. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
All right. Have a good one. Mark, if you want to go off on this a little bit, I've got the article up so we could check out facts and such. But
okay, well, I guess one thing I wanted to follow up on that we were talking about a minute ago was like, do the Disney theme parks care about theming cohesion anymore? And I really think the answer is an emphatic no, because you go and you look at like Epcot. And I was watching a documentary about Epcot that was produced in the 80s, and it's like night and day. Epcot it got a lot of flack for being the educational park, but it was the fun educational park. And most of the educational aspect, at least in the Futureland area, is just lost.
It really did. And I think it's the innovations. First of all, they had no idea what to do with them, because in order to keep those up, they have to know what's coming, not what is, but what's next, so they can put it in there. And that was just way too much work.
Yeah, each pavilion was themed after some sort of educational topic, and they just started shutting them down. Like they shut down the fitness and nutrition pavilion. I think now it's just used for like corporate retreats. They took Journey into Imagination, and they just butchered that one. They changed it and turned
that was a Kodak thing. Actually, that was sponsored by Kodak, and Kodak wasn't keeping up with it. So when the contract went, they said, "Okay, we'll sponsor, but we want these changes." And basically, we want it to be made really, really bad. And
and they made it. But it's like some of the rides that still survive, the educational aspect is perfunctory. It's tacked on. Like Test Track is still, I guess, technically educational, but not really. You do that little thing where you make your car. The ride still has the part where it's like activating anti-lock brakes, but it's still more of a thrill ride than anything that teaches you anything.
Well, originally they were going to change it to some sort of Tron ride, but then they backed away, and they had to, then what do we have to do? And they ended up with some sort of bizarre hybrid that really gutted the point of the ride.
Exactly. And I'm kind of wondering how the Guardians of the Galaxy ride that's replacing the Energy Adventure, is it still going to have any sort of attempt at theming around education about energy, or is it just going to be a thrill ride starring the Guardians of the Galaxy? If it's even going to try to have an educational aspect to it.
Well, I could tell you that now that you've put it in my head, I can't wait for Rocket Raccoon to try to educate people about energy. I think
that's going to be ridiculous if they do it. I'd love to see it.
Yes. Now that you mention it, this is something I've never known that I always wanted. It seems like it's just so freaking ridiculous. So yeah, bring it on. Sounds good. Okay. Right. It's a stupid idea, but that's where you've led us to, guys. Let's see how it goes.
Spaceship Earth is still themed around communication. That's just because it's changed the least, I think. Obviously it's had some changes over the years, but it hasn't been desecrated quite as much as a lot of those other rides.
Not as much. Plus, I do appreciate the fact that since they're coming back from being shut down for so long, it would have been ignorant of them to keep Spaceship Earth closed. That's their... that's the icon of Epcot.
It's a centerpiece, yeah.
Yeah, so to close it down now would have been such a mistake. So I do appreciate the fact that they kept it open.
Right. So Epcot has at least, so the World Pavilion, the World Showcase, it's hard to screw up the theming on that one. Each pavilion's a different country. So, that one's kept its theming. They've added a lot of corporate IPs to it. Some I don't mind. Like I don't mind the 3 Caballeros being added to the Mexican pavilion because the
I
3
love that ride,
Caballeros. I love that ride too. And but the reason they work is because Saludos Amigos and the 3 Caballeros films were literal educational films about Mexico and Central America and South America. So they fit the educational aspect of the Mexican pavilion just absolutely perfectly. That's what they were built for. Frozen in Norway, not so much.
Have you ever if you ever get I will never mention a team member's name, but if you ever get one of these Norwegian kids aside and you ask them about this, they will roll their eyes like a freaking slot machine. They don't like it. I mean, look, you go into China, you've got Forever China. Let us tell you about how China was in the 1980s, because that's when the movie was made. And then it would be like, and here we're in France, and they would show the movie. Now at least they're getting Ratatouille, which took place in France. So at least
it didn't teach you much about France, you know.
But the thing is they hate the fact that Arendelle is in freaking Norway.
It's a made-up place. It'd be like, I don't know, if the Morocco pavilion got changed to an Aladdin theme, became about Agrabah, this made up Middle Eastern thing that doesn't even fit because it's the Morocco pavilion, but it's like vaguely Middle Eastern. It's like, no, that doesn't work.
I can handle them putting Aladdin and Jasmine as characters out front and going along with it. Yeah, but let's not put Aladdin in the buildings because that's a bit of an insult.
But if they changed, I don't know, if they got rid of the Circle Vision Martin short film in the Canada Pavilion, which I don't think people would mind too much, but if they replaced it with, like, I don't know, like a Brother Bear themed, thing, that took place in Canada, so let's just put Brother Bear in there.
Okay, you have like myself, at least a modicum of realistic thinking. I know there's a better word, but I don't have a mind for it. Is it me or for the Fort Wilderness Lodge, Snow White as a character meet and greet in their central restaurant rather than Brother Bear characters or Pocahontas? I'm like, Snow White? Really? That's German. I mean, you literally have a German restaurant.
I know it's very strange. I mean, they're wise enough to have like Winnie the Pooh, Milne characters appear in the UK pavilion because they're British characters. So I mean that makes sense when Winnie the Pooh shows up over there.
You know what I say? Get rid of the Prince of the Frog. Just give me a Donald Duck ride.
Yeah.
3 Caballeros.
And a Frontier, with to have people shooting arrows at them.
You know what would actually be, well, they used to have this, but they used to have Davy Crockett's keelboats. No, it was a
keelboats.
It was keel, not kill. But I know there was a Davy Crockett something, but you could do something with Davy Crockett that was popular. There's all sorts of stuff you could put in there. And look, once again, I'm not against a Princess and the Frog ride. I think that's a brilliant idea. I love the movie. I just think it's the wrong area.
In a New Frontier area, like you're gonna throw a New Orleans part in there. It's like, okay.
I think even Country Bear Jamboree, something more to do with the Country Bears would be cool.
I feel like the Country Bears aren't long for this world. I mean, I like them because they're retro, but I feel like most people it's too retro. It feels too Chuck E. Cheese, I think, for most people.
I love it. You are blaspheming.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
I just had a Philo Goes West or whatever or something like that.
Oh, that's a Fox movie though.
Yeah, but they own it now.
Oh my God, you're right.
No, it's a Universal film.
Oh, Universal. Okay, well, yeah, because Fievel used to be over at Universal Studios. He was in their little cartoon land. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, so here's the thing about so many people. I came into this late, so forgive me if you already discussed it. But so many people.
You were right there at the beginning.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of people out there who act like they know what Song of the South is about, but they haven't seen the movie because the film is suppressed. So they only know secondhand what Song of the South is about. And the information that they're spreading around as fact is, in fact, misinformation. How many people tell you that the characters of like Uncle Remus and all of them are slaves in the movie? Like, they're not. This takes place during Reconstruction. People think they know what the movie is about and what it's like, what its themes are, what its characterizations are. But until they actually see the film for themselves, they're wrong. So a lot of these people who, you know, are cheering the retheming of Splash Mountain because it's ending racism, it's taking away some slavery era characters or whatever, they don't know what they're talking about. And that was my biggest fear with Dumbo, getting rid of the Crow characters. I mean, so I guess luckily Disney decided to compromise, and on Disney Plus, instead of removing the Crow scene, which they can't do because that's like a plot point in the movie, they added this like stupid disclaimer where they basically apologize for the film, and then you can watch it. But the Crows, if you watch the film in the context of the story, the Crows are the most intelligent, helpful, and coolest characters in the movie. They start out making fun of Dumbo. Then they feel bad when Timothy Mouse tells them that they're picking on a kid. Then they want to make up for their actions by helping Dumbo. And the way they help him is they use psychology. They use an incredibly intelligent scheme to help Dumbo find his confidence and learn how to fly on his own power. Like the Crows are awesome, and they have like the best song in the movie.
And I think I've seen about everything.
Yeah. When I see an elephant fly, it's a great scene. They're great characters. And I just wish one of them wasn't named Jim Crow, because that's all anybody ever talks about.
His name is Jim, and he is
Jim,
a crow.
Yeah.
His name isn't actually Jim Crow. Yeah.
But they don't strike me as being, so people complain that they're dressed like black people and they talk the way black people did in the era. Like, I don't think that's necessarily any more offensive than the four buzzards from the Jungle Book who all talk and act like the Beatles and look like the Beatles. They all, because they were just looking and talking like British character or British celebrities from that era when the film was made. And the Crows are the same thing. They're talking like cool jazz musicians from the 1930s. There's nothing in the context of the film. There's nothing offensive about that. They aren't acting like Step and Fetch It or something, or they're not doing like an Al Jolson mammy kind of thing. But so many people don't think about context when they watch these things, if they watch them at all. And they'll find that not only are the characters that they think are offensive, or the movies they think are offensive, are inoffensive, but they're actually very positive portrayals of those archetypes or those cultures.
Yeah, and as we stated before, Uncle Remus is the guy that's got his stuff together. It is now the arguments I heard about this are that they seem to be happy slaves. One, they're not slaves, and two, are you saying that these people are not able to find joy? You think that nobody was ever smiled back then? They're with their family. Look, when they worked for the white family, of course, but they weren't working for them. They were with their family. They were having dinner and they're singing their song. When the young white kid comes up and needs to talk to Uncle Remus, and that scene is bad, I'm like, guys, watch the freaking movie first. And I understand it's getting a little more and more difficult to find, but you can still find it. I mean, it's the internet, guys. They can't hide anything.
I found the solution to appease these white anti-fire and all the other people, and all, just have Morgan Freeman narrating.
Right? He's the solution.
Morgan Freeman. Everyone loves Morgan Freeman.
Everybody loves Morgan Freeman. We can all handle Morgan Freeman, yes. But when it comes down to it, what really bothers me about this was not a decision made because the company thought it was going to be better. It wasn't made as part. I mean, they put billions of dollars into making sure the parks were up to snuff, doing things and such. And this wasn't part of that. This decision was made out of fear of the mob. And as you said, they're bending the knee. Tim said the same thing. And that's what it is.
It sets a bad precedent because, I mean, once you bend the knee and once you prove that you are willing to capitulate to mob rule, then they're not going to stop, and you're going to be having to make concessions left and right and every day.
Dumbo's next.
Dumbo's next, exactly. You know, you got those Dumbo rides where he's holding the crow's feather in his trunk, and you go up and down like, hey, that crow's feather is from Jim Crow, and Jim Crow's a racist character, and Dumbo's a racist movie. Get rid of it. And then you're going to have the Aladdin ride, you know, suddenly you can't have Aladdin in your parks anymore because, oh, that's a negative portrayal, or that's a stereotypical portrayal of Middle Eastern cultures. You know, they're riding carpets and there's a camel that spits on you. Oh my God, that's so offensive.
Look, okay, so by the way, I don't want them to get rid of the ride because they were threatened. I just want them to get rid of the ride because it's right in the freaking middle of Adventureland and it causes a bottleneck. It doesn't need to be
badly
there.
placed.
You could have put that crap beside there. There's like a little inlet they're using as a smoking section now. It's out of the way. They could have put it there if they needed it in Adventureland, and it's horribly placed.
I mean, how many times do you line up for a Dole Whip and it's just basically like you're in like a standing room only kind of like huge cluster because that stupid ride's there?
you line up for a Dole Whip and all of a sudden you're on a freaking Dumbo like ride. I just wanted a Dole Whip. I didn't want to go on this because it kind of matches.
I mean, next they're going to want to get rid of Tom Sawyer Island because it was written by Mark Twain, and Mark Twain used the N-word, so you can't have any references to Mark Twain. You know, there's stuff like
you're
that.
You're just giving him you're like,
I'm just giving him ideas, but that's what
here, man.
Even though Fantasia was already edited and seen out that was racist, we should still cancel it.
Fantasia, man. You know, they got rid of Sunflower. Poor Sunflower. She didn't do anything wrong.
I started on Twitter. I started asking a question, and I put it in a big tweet to everybody. But I really do believe that more people, anytime you see any kind of this cancel culture come up, you need to ask them this. So what? Well, this guy plays. So what? How is that affecting it? How it does not change the fact that your rent is due on the 1st.
Right. I think people have forgotten that when someone tells you that they're offended, you can just say, okay. You don't have to say, I'm sorry. You don't have to change. You don't have to like angrily fight them and justify your position. You can just say, okay, you're offended.
You're offended. Sucks to be you. I'm going on Splash Mountain.
You know what's funny? You'll never see anybody who is a fan of basically going against cancel culture and picketing outside of Disney because you'll be banned from Disney for life, and then you'll be like, screw it.
Well, Disney has had its protesters, but they didn't run through Disney tearing down topiaries and all that kind of stuff. What they did do is they showed up in T-shirts with Mr. Toad's face on it, just to show people, look, we don't want you to change Mr. Toad to Winnie the Pooh.
You know, that was a pretty nice protest, right? That's pretty innocent.
Here's an offering, okay? We'll get you to cancel Little Mermaid if you leave Splash Mountain alone. You know. Get rid of Sebastian. He's racist.
Yeah, Little Mermaid's gonna be Me Too'd because it's basically a 14-year-old girl hanging out there. How old is Prince Ariel?
Ariel's like 16 and Snow White's 14. Yeah, they're all pretty young in those movies.
Well, look at the Lost Boys. Peter Pan. Look.
Oh yeah. If they had to get rid of anything, you know, maybe they should just go ahead and get rid of the Swiss Family Robinson tree because that tree is just a giant trick. Everybody's like, oh man, this line queue is so great. I can't wait to see what the ride is. Just empty back out.
It stares the attraction. That's what it is. It stares the attraction. I remember when I was a kid, I loved it. And by the way, I love the movie. I just adore the movie. But I went on it recently. Now, when I was a kid, I loved it. Man, I'd be running up, looking all over the place. Now I'm 50, and I'm like, oh my god.
Well, you can't do that. So when I did that as a kid, when I was 6 years old in 1991, the park didn't have the same, I don't know, population density as it has now. So I could run up and down the stairs. I could take time to look in all the nooks and crannies of the treehouse. Now it's just you're in a packed line, one step at a time, going up and down the stairs. Yeah. You can't really take your time to look at everything because the people behind you want you to move, and you can't go up and down the stairs and play around and have a good time if you're a little kid because you're just stuck in line.
Do you know what's next to be canceled? The Cali River Rapids.
The Cali River? No, that would never be. No, that's all framed to be Africa. That will not be. Unless they do this, unless they hit Animal Kingdom for cultural appropriation.
Right. That's for dinosaur culture.
Yeah.
you know what they got to get rid of in Animal Kingdom? They got to get rid of that lame, crappy, dinosaur-themed like amusement park carnival area. I know that's there because it's cheap and it's a way to like draw people away from the ticket rides, but it's so crappy and so cheap and so
It is. But I got to tell you, I like the Primeval World, but the rest of it is just, it's a parking lot. It like literally is.
Yeah, it's literally asphalt that you're walking on. Yeah. I mean, I like the Primeval World too, but the line for that ride is as long as the line for the dinosaur ride, the e-ticket ride. It's ridiculous. And
the thing is, they wanted it to be like that. It was supposed to be like a parking lot where it was like this this family found bones on their land. Therefore, they decided to create an amusement park around it. And people could come around and they could do digs if they want, you know, they could, and here we've got a couple of rides. So it really is supposed to be this family put a parking lot down and then put some rides on it. And that's how it feels. But if you've ever been in a grocery store parking lot in summer in Florida, you don't want to be there. And the thing is, I agree with you. As much as I love Primeval World, I'm a fat guy. And I like going with my fat friends and having both of us sit on the corner while because they'll put two families together, and we'll sit on the corners and let people. No, you get the middle because you won't bash around. But if you get big people on the end, that thing's spinning like no business.
I know what you're talking about. So Tim and I went with a friend of ours many years ago. He doesn't hang out with us anymore because we voted for Trump. But before all that happened, he went with us once. And just to give you an idea of how big he was, they wouldn't let him on the Harry Potter ride because they couldn't close the safety bar down on it.
Yeah, my brother's like that. Yeah.
And we did Primeval World with them, and it was exactly like you described. We thought that thing was going to go off kilter and send us flying. So it's actually more fun.
That's because it's based on centrifugal force. So if you have weight on the outside, it spins more.
So right now, since they're getting rid of Splash Mountain, you better go buy them merchandise. Some of that stuff is $50 on eBay probably.
I bet the scalpers are already going nuts.
They already are. I saw that on WDW article. It says Splash Mountain merchandise sales surge at Disney.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing is that it's gonna. I knew that the shoe was gonna drop on Song of the South someday. I mean, the writing was on the wall. Like it's the last reminder that's. I mean, I'm sorry, Splash Mountain. The shoe is gonna drop on that because it's the last reminder that Song of the South exists.
They've been trying to cancel or change it for like a decade, so it doesn't surprise me that it finally did.
But now it's gone, and there's not going to be any reminder anymore that Song of the South ever existed, except when you hear Zippity Doodah on Disney radio, and it's just going to be forgotten. And this
would be funny if they kept that song, even though it's pressing the thing.
Zip, 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 zippity doo-dah, zippity-ay. That's not the song that I loved. I like everybody's got a laughing place to go, whoa, whoa. I've always dug that one, man.
I like the song that goes, it goes like, how do you do? Mighty fine to meet you.
How do you do? Yeah, how do you do? It's pretty good to meet you. How do you do? Yeah,
that whole soundtrack is fantastic beyond just Zippity Doodah, but most people haven't heard those songs. They don't know where those songs are from. It's disappointing.
I've only heard Zippity Doodah because that's all anybody ever talks about because they don't play Song of the South. I didn't know Song of the South until I actually met Engelstein. I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yep. And we were going to do a watch party, and I warned him that we'll do a watch party of it, but it's boring.
It kind of is.
Hey, look, the cartoons are amazing. I think they're excellent. I love the cartoons segments and everything, but the rest of the movie is really slow.
It is dull. So the last few times I've watched Song of the South, I fast forwarded to the cartoon parts because I already know the bridging material, and there is a lot of great story elements and character developments in the bridging material, but it's one of those things you only ever need to see once.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, is that an actual statue? But it's I don't know. It just seems weird. I mean, the funny thing is, hey Jim, how's it going, man? Yo, Jim, that's a bad outfit.
I mean, I hope this isn't enough, and they go in there and they pull down the Mickey statue.
Oh man, they hate statues. Any statues. Well, you know that Walt Disney was a.
I can already tell how they're going to do it because there's this lie going around that was started by Herbert Sorrell that Disney was anti-Semitic, So it won't be long before the Uncle Walt statue comes down.
I know, that's exactly what I was thinking.
If they come after partners, you're gonna see me at Disney beating the snot out of some kids. I don't care. I'll get my ass whipped if I could get a couple of.
You see those 10-year-olds? They took their angle team.
Exactly, it would be exactly that, man.
Flash.
I'm willing to go fight for the partnership statue.
Well, I mean, didn't Walt's granddaughter make a public apology for Walt being anti-Semitic? Like, even his family doesn't defend him anymore from those lies. It's one of those things where and the people who run Walt Disney now that Roy's gone, they aren't even part of the family. They have no love of Walt Disney, the person.
That's why
they just care about the. Yeah, so I mean, if someone says like take down the Walt statue, Walt was an anti-Semite, they'll be like, oh, okay, we'll take down that statue. We're very sorry for Walt Disney being an anti-Semite. We're going to remove all imagery of him around the parks and just forget he ever existed.
Man, you're just making me sad.
Ironically, enough of when Anglin and I covered Abigail Disney being apparently really, really based about the treatment of park employees because. Bob Chippick, of course, being the cheapskate that he is, was treating park employees even worse than they usually get treated, and Abigail Disney was having none of it. It made me and Anglin go, can we just give Disney back to the actual family, please?
You're right.
Yeah, that's why I call him Cheapick, is because of that. Because of the fact that under his run, we've been having rides break down left and right, and he was the one that started moving everything to the rich. Like I said, you had great places. Like if you sat yourself down for a few hours because you knew Illuminations was going to be at 9, you came in at 6, you park yourself right near Italy where they've got the little inlet and you could see everything, and it's a wonderful spot to look at. Or maybe over at the France Pavilion where you could see everything. It's a really great spot. And then they started cording it off for people who bought the dinner package.
They viewed that one scene from Jurassic Park with the lawyer as an instruction manual instead of a warning.
Well, they're charging. Are they still charging for parking at the resorts now? Like,
oh my gosh, it was like $20-something.
And that's something they just started doing like last year or maybe this year, where like even if you have a reservation to go to, like, I don't know, the Old Key West or whatever. To park your car at Old Key West, you've got to pay a parking fee, which you didn't have to pay at the hotels that you're already paying to go to.
Now, the last I heard, it was $15 a night.
God, if you're staying there for a week, you got to pay like $65 to park there. It's ridiculous when you're already paying to stay there, and that's just a brand new charge that they tacked on. It's like they're just finding new ways to nickel and dime you. And
it's supposedly it's so people are discouraged, like they'll fly rather than drive, and that way when they get here, they're stuck on property.
Right? Yeah, they don't want you driving to Universal, basically.
Basically, yeah, that's what it ends up being.
Well, they see Super Nintendo Land getting built, and they're scared. They really don't want people going to Super Nintendo Land right now.
Yeah. And people are excited about that.
I'm psyched for it. I can't wait for it. I mean, the only thing I'm really excited for that's new at Disney is I really do want to go on that Mickey Mouse ride over at Hollywood Studios. Yeah, I haven't been on it yet, so I've been looking forward to it. Starting tomorrow, I'll be able to... I'm going to be able to reserve as an annual pass holder. So I'm going to, I don't know, maybe midnight tonight I should jump on, but I think it's at 7 tomorrow. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully. Well, you guys were talking about how rides are constantly breaking down and this guy Cheapskate who's running things. I think that's part of that is why we're getting so many screen-based attractions, because the maintenance on those is so much cheaper than like animatronic-based attractions.
And it doesn't require nearly as much Imagineering.
Right? I mean, instead of having robots who in each individual robot has to be maintained, instead you just got to maintain the screens. And what's crazy is that they can't even do that. Last time we were on that Avatar ride at Animal Kingdom, the one that's like the little boat ride. like 2 of the screens weren't working, and they just had these like error messages on them. And every time we've been on the 3 Caballeros ride at Epcot for like the past two years, there are screens on the Caballeros ride that have like error messages on them and not working. Like
I've never seen that.
It's really pathetic, and everybody on the boat, laughs when they see the error message on the screen. it's ridiculous.
Now I have seen, and I think this is a big rip. Now, the boat ride you're talking about, the River Journey, Navi Ridge, yeah. When the audio animatronic goes down, it drops a screen, and I think that's a rip because they decided to go cheap, like, oh, we're over budget. Let's just cut down the Navi. It was supposed to be a longer ride with more of a narrative, and they cut that one up. And I'm thinking, what a ripoff! Because it's only got the one thing. If you're not able to see that, then what?
That's the payoff.
Is it? Yeah,
the Navi robot at the end of the ride is basically like what you sit through the whole ride for. It's like when the Yeti broke and Expedition Everest. They never fixed that one, but at least that one's a roller coaster. So it's almost okay if that thing doesn't move, but it's still the payoff at the end. And for that thing to be broken is really disappointing.
And now we get what they call Disco Yeti because they really do put strobe lights on it to make it look like it's moving as you pass by.
Imagine if you went on Confrontation or Skull Island, whatever they call it now, and the big King Kong head at the end was broken and it didn't move. Like how disappointing that would be.
Yeah. By the way, that's impressive. Also, I like that. I like that Kong head.
I love it. I didn't get to ride the original Confrontation because we didn't go to Universal Studios when I was a kid. So I'm glad that I get to see kind of an homage to it now that they put up the new King Kong ride and they still have the big robot head.
Do they have a Godzilla ride at the Universal yet?
No, they don't.
Hey,
I wish they did.
But the King Kong ride for a screen-based ride is good. I like that. It
is. I mean, it's better than Fast and the Furious, but then what isn't better than Fast and the Furious?
Watching my toilet flush is better than Fast and the Furious.
I mean, the 2 rides that need to have is a Darkwind.
Yeah, let's get that one going.
Or have a Tailspin ride.
If they were to do anything, I would like them to. I mean, we're just now getting a Mickey Mouse ride after how many decades? We're finally getting one of those. But if they were to do something with, what was that?
Is it Steamboat Mickey?
No, it's that one at Hollywood. I wish it was Steamboat Willie, but no, it's that one at Hollywood Studios, and it's based on the new Mickey Mouse shorts. It's supposed to be pretty good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not watching the ride footage because I want it to be a surprise.
Same here.
But if they were to do anything that was like to synergize with a modern cartoon, I'd like to see a ride based on the current DuckTales. I mean, obviously, I like the old one better because I'm an old man. But
I like it better.
I like the new one, so I wouldn't mind a ride based on the new one.
Gizmo Duck.
As long as we're talking about attractions based on Disney TV shows, I want a Gargoyles attraction. I don't care necessarily what it is. Do something with Gargoyles. Gargoyles is awesome.
Disney doesn't even remember that they own Gargoyles.
Yes, they do. It's on Disney Plus. They have to remember to pimp it. So,
but I mean, like you could have a Darkwing Duck ride. You could have a Rescuers or rescue. You could do say Rescuers is too problematic. You could do Rescue Rangers.
Rescue Rangers, yeah.
You could have an entire Disney toon theme, entire toon themed land that's all the TV show characters.
They could do a ride, and it would be so easy if they did a ride like similar to what Universal has, the Spider-Man ride and the Transformers ride, which are essentially the same ride, just with different footage and different croppings. But it's like the Disney afternoon.
They are exactly the same ride.
And you're in your car, your little cart, and you're in trouble, and each stage is a different cartoon. So at one point, Baloo comes by in that plane and he gives you a lift, tails your car behind him through the sky as the pirates shoot at you. And then maybe you fall out of the sky, but then Darkwing Duck comes by on that plane shaped like his head, and he grappling hooks you and he takes you along, but then you get cut down again. And then the Rescue Rangers show up in that weird Pepsi bottle plane of theirs, and they somehow give you another lift. And you're just passed off from one Disney afternoon character until you land at the end in Uncle Scrooge's money bin in a big pile of gold coins, and that's how you get off the ride. Something like that.
Sounds like a Disney afternoon version of Hanna-Barbera over at Universal.
Exactly.
20 years ago.
Yeah. And that one was just Back to the Future, the ride, basically.
Oh, no. The before Jimmy Neutron, before
Despicable Me, yeah. But it was the same principle of ride.
It was Hanna-Barbera, yeah.
You're in a simulator, so you're not actually traveling anywhere. The car is just kind of wobbling back and forth as you watch the film. But so it's not quite like Spider-Man, where Spider-Man takes your car through a bunch of different rooms.
No, it has to be 4D. You're gonna do it.
Yeah, 4D. Yeah, so you got to wear the glasses, and you got to.
I want to get spray water.
You know?
When you go into the sewer part, you get sprayed next with the raw sewage comes up.
Yeah, as long as they don't make you smell anything. That's the only part I hate about those rides, is when they make you smell something gross, right? Like, what was that one? It was the Lilo and Stitch, the one that replaced Alien Encounter. It was the Stitch one, Stitch's Great Escape, where he burps into your face and it smells really gross, and they can never clear the smell out in time. So like I remember we walked into that theater, I guess, because it's a theater attraction, and we heard this little girl like yell out like, "It smells bad in here." Couldn't pipe that scent out. It was nasty.
It really was bad though. And the ride wasn't any good, but the audio animatronic, we were talking about this when they took it out, and we somebody filmed behind the scenes and filmed Stitch without its skin on.
That's terrifying.
It really was, but I wish they kept the audio animatronic. Like, they could have taken it to put it in the bar at the Polynesian. You know,
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, and they took the Tiki Room animatronics back when it was Iago and Zazu running.
Oh, God, yeah, they burned alive. Yeah,
yeah, they did really. But they could have done the same thing for Lilo and Stitch, yeah.
Well, I know where they could have taken it. That would have been easy. Like, what's that restaurant in Tomorrowland that has an animatronic that just like kind of stands there? Sometimes he tells jokes.
Sunny Eclipse, yeah.
Yeah, Sunny. If they want to theme everything after their IPs,
Cafe, what the restaurant's called.
I mean, they could have easily just taken the Sunny animatronic out, put in the Stitch animatronic, and that probably would have attracted more people because they know who Stitch is. And so even if he just stands up there and goes, people would like that more than Sunny.
I would agree with that. I'm not a big fan of Sunny Eclipse, but well, I remember I'm a little bit older, but I remember when there was live entertainment in the Cosmic Rays. I used to go there with my girlfriend and all. We actually went, and every time we knew they were on, we would go listen. You know, teenagers, you like your rock and roll, you know, so we would go do a couple of rides, and then we would go and listen to some music, go do some rides, come back and listen to some music. Yeah, they were called the Sound Society. And I've Googled it. Nobody mentions the Sound Society at Disney anywhere. So.
Oh, it's a forgotten classic. You know, you got to start up that fan page, you know, get your T-shirts made. Like,
bring back the Sound Society. Yeah, I break for the Sound Society. That's. I
need a T-shirt for I don't know. I want to start the fan club for the snack bar on Tom Sawyer's Island. They closed down a long time ago.
Oh, and Polly's, yeah.
And Polly's, yeah. Give me a T-shirt for that, because I remember going there when I was 6 and getting a lemonade from them and sitting there in one of those rocking chairs, drinking my lemonade and thinking that was the coolest shit. And that was our meeting spot. My mom and my aunts and everybody, whenever we would go as a kid, they would let us run around, do whatever you want, because, you know, that was back before, I guess, parents got wimpy. But they would say, meet us at Aunt Polly's. So we would go, and we would go through the caves and play like we're shooting the people on the boats with the guns and everything, because, you know, they trusted kids would play guns back in the day. Yeah, and then finally, they just let us go, let us explore. It was really nice. But you always met at Aunt Polly's. You have to go because Aunt Polly's would they made sandwiches and easy stuff. But I always remember they had the best peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That's pretty amazing to have the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich. What made those sandwiches so special? Was it the jelly or the peanut butter?
I have no idea, but I remember I loved them. I loved and it might just be because, you know, when you're a kid, you like
nostalgia.
Yeah.
Well, not as a kid, but what it is, you like routine.
Well, yeah, your palate's really simple back then.
Yeah. So once the second time my mom got me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich after we played, I always looked forward to it. It's we're gonna get that,
Well,
and it was always really, it was really good.
I'll just say this on the subject of PB&J. If you really miss that stuff, you can just go get ice cream flavor now. They sell at the store.
Oh God!
I saw it today. I was like,
I gotta go with I'm gonna go with what Pele's saying right here. Just
it had chunks of peanut butter and jelly in the ice cream.
Oh,
you're
that's
not
like nightmare mode Ben and Jerry's. I would not eat that.
yeah.
Well, Ben and Jerry's is in and of itself a nightmare at the moment because
Yeah, those
yeah.
guys
But you know,
crazy.
I don't mind. PB&J, no.
It's like when they do those weird like potato chip or tortilla chip flavors. You know, they do them just like, here's a Thanksgiving dinner potato chip flavor. It tastes like cranberry sauce and turkey. I don't want to eat that.
This chip tastes like meatloaf. I love it.
Yeah, right. No, thank you.
No, here's is a brand, HERR''S. They do have some good ones though. Lay's started copying them. You know, I remember that, and that like there is a biscuits and gravy one of Lay's. It's actually pretty good.
That's just weird. Yeah, look, I agree though when you mention Tom Sawyer maybe next. I think Dumbo though. Dumbo's the most. If you're looking for
the next
triggering
problematic.
triggering rides, yeah, I think the one that we should be worried about is Dumbo. Because sometimes
if you need to find something to complain about,
and that's all they're doing. They don't care. They don't care. They don't know the ride. They don't know the.
They don't go to Disney. They don't.
Yeah, right.
They don't know enough to care. That's the thing. They don't have enough. They don't have enough context to actually have an emotional connection. All they have enough information for is moral indignation.
I'll tell you, it's exactly what it goes. Did you hear what so and so said? I'm offended. Have you ever been there? No, but I'm still offended. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think more people need to stand up and just say, "So what?"
Right?
You have a right to be offended. But
you want to get offended on somebody else's behalf. If you're going to get offended, at least get offended when someone directly insults you. Don't get offended, just because somebody
like
else
Trump
did.
rallies, you don't always get what you want. You get what you need.
Right. Alrighty. Anyway, we've kind of gone off the rails a couple of times here. Oh, hey, Irms, I could tell you as I work on the ride, this was originally just meant to be released in Disneyland, but then they decided to put in both parks, says Irms. It has been getting worked on in concept art for the ride since the beginning of 2019, but it was never planned to go to Walt Disney World, at least yet. And that might be a thing. They might actually let it go. Look, if they do something for Disneyland, it might actually appease people where they could show it unless it catches on. Wait a second, what about Disney World? But it's kind of just like throwing a bone. And let's face it, it's not a bad idea. Look, it really isn't. It's not a bad idea to do a ride for Princess and the Frog. Lord knows
it should have been done 10 years ago when the movie first came out, to be honest with you.
Dalton would love a Facilier section where he could hear, the song and everything.
I've made this suggestion before on Main Street USA or wherever there's a series of shops. Facilier's Tarot Parlor. How is that not already a thing?
I mean, so here's the thing that I know is going to happen and it's going to piss me off is anybody who criticizes this change, the defenders are going to say like, oh, so you don't like Princess and the Frog, so you just hate that movie? You're like, no, that's actually one of my favorite Disney animated films. I love that movie. I just don't want it to replace Splash Mountain.
Splash Mountain is my favorite ride at Disney.
Right?
Yeah.
And so not wanting that change doesn't mean you dislike Princess and the Frog. It just means that let Princess and the Frog have its own ride. Don't have it replace something else that's an institution for the park. But I got to take my pizza out of the oven, so I got to go now, you guys.
All righty. How's it going, Mark?
You again, Mark.
Hey, if you want, message me and I'll add you to the Homegrown Tourist DM as well. So.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Anytime you want, you can jump on. So,
I'm going to jump off here now. I got to go.
All righty. So it's just me and the authenticator.
Alrighty.
Yes.
All right. So Irams is saying the reason they want to do it now is because the kids that grew up with it 10 years ago are now old enough to spend more money on merch. We did not think about the nostalgia factor. We're so busy defending Splash Mountain against the rioters and everything, the cancel culture. But yeah, the kids who saw it, who were 10 or 12, are now 20. They're starting to get income.
But see, here's the thing. I'm in that generation. I'm 24, and I still would. I would have told you, a decade ago, it would be really awesome if they had a series of rides based on this, or something along those lines, or have a New Orleans portion of the Americana thing at the in the World Showcase, or something along those lines.
Yeah, but also, you got to take into account this as well. My kids know who the monkeys are because I love the monkeys. They know who Styx is because I love Styx. They've watched the movies I love because I showed them what I love.
Yeah.
And then, of course, your parents have done the same with you, and my parents did the same with me, and so on and so on. And at 24. And I know it's different than when I was young, where you would find the person you would get married earlier and all that kind of stuff. But still, people are going to start making families, and they're going to start doing all this. And Princess and the Frog does have a nostalgia factor for the people who are now going to be entering the workforce and becoming family. They're going to become moms and dads. They're going to go to Disney with their kids. They're going to share the stuff they love. So there is a nostalgia factor to this. Once again, I'm all for a Princess and the Frog ride. I just think that Frontierland is not the place for it. And granted, I'm talking Walt Disney World. I've never been to Disneyland. Unfortunately, I want to go. But I've never been to Critter Country. But if they're going to build a bayou kind of thing, it's awesome. It sounds great. I think that if you're going to do it here, build it between Liberty Square and Main Street. Like it's almost a thing that enters, because it's not quite. It's way too late for Liberty Square. It's and Main Street, but at least it fits more there than it does in Frontierland. So that's what I would have to say about that.
And in all honesty, I would prefer if Princess and the Frog got its own ride, as in not just a reskin of something that pre-existed. In the same way that I'm all for a Frozen ride, but does it really have to be a reskin of the Maelstrom?
Yeah.
That's the thing, Disney. Stop reskinning old things that people actually like and make new things.
Look, I love the Maelstrom as much as the next guy. Oh, and by the way, Trusty or Larams, if you want to jump on, I'll leave the link in the chat. You could jump on and talk. But look, I love the Maelstrom. I really did, but it was getting old.
It needed a update and a reskin and everything. I'm just saying on general principle. Instead of reskinning every little thing, Disney, because it's cheaper for you, why don't you put some of the millions or billions of dollars you've made in the last 10 quarters to creating new rides and new lands and stuff? And I know they're working on it, and I know they've been expanding for a few years, but honestly, certain parts of the park need an entire overhaul, not just a fresh coat of paint. They need especially under the reign of Bob Cheapskate there, because he's let Disney go.
I was calling him Cheapskate. You guys took it like further than what I was doing. I was just like, oh, it's Bob Cheapik, and instead of Chepik, and you guys are like, let's just drop all pretense. It's Bob Cheapskate.
Yeah. Let's call things what they are. Let's call things what they are, and he's Bob Cheapskate.
Alrighty. Okay. I guess that's where we're going now. But hey, why not?
Does he not deserve it at this point?
At this point, I think.
Can you honestly tell me he doesn't deserve it? At this point?
He has earned the Cheapskate name. I mean, come on. When it really does seem like every other week there was a ride breaking down, because every other week there was a ride breaking down. And look, hey, no,
sometimes two in the same week. Remember, it was Jungle Cruise, and then it was
the People Mover caught on fire.
Yeah,
it caught on freaking fire. But look, I worked at theme parks before. I understand that things break down. It's just the way it is. Rides break down during the day, and usually it goes down just a little bit. They come and do whatever they need to do, and the ride gets put back up. That's just how it is. It happens.
Yeah, but it's the scale and the sheer degree to which it happened. I think that is new.
Haunted Mansion going down mysteriously for almost a week. That was like, oh, what are you doing?
The Haunted Mansion, one of the biggest and most famous attractions in Disney history, was gone for a week. Are you mad?
Yeah, that was a little bit weird. I don't know. Anyway, so why not change it all together when they have to basically rebuild the inner workings of the ride, says Irms. I do not disagree with this. For maintenance for Splash, that ride needed a change. It was built in 1989. The water and the humidity in Florida beat the crap out of those mechanics. It has a lot that needs to be fixed. He is not wrong about that, or I don't really know if it's he or she, but the fact is that there were parts, like for a long time, I've never seen, there's this one playful area where these turtles are riding on water and the water's doing the jumping thing in front of you. I'd never seen those animatronics working for the last 10 years, I would have to say, of going. And I go a lot. So that is true. It's in need of an overhaul, but I'm adding that to Cheapskate's bill as well. But Dalton, to put in something new, they would have to be creative, and you can't have that in modern Disney. I'm not gonna erase Disney's creativity completely, Jim, but I do agree that it seems like I don't know. Maybe it always has somewhere, but maybe I'm wearing
place at least.
Maybe I'm wearing rose-tinted nostalgia glasses, but it does seem like it was better back in my day.
Well, I mean, a lot of the stuff was still new back in your earlier days there. Not to put too fine a point on it, but
I'm old. Yes.
Disney World was, what year did Disney World open?
1971.
And you first went what year?
1971.
So yeah, that it was still new, and it was before time and the ravages of Florida weather had their say in the matter.
I was a baby when I first went. I have no first time at Walt Disney World. But then again, a lot of Floridians don't. The parents take them as little babies.
Not.
It's always there. Yeah, it's always there to you. If you're born here, and more than likely you have a family member who's worked here, so it's just something you've always done. And that's fun.
So much the better. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a good time. I still enjoy going to Disney. It's one of those things where it's like I'm talking about it because I love it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I still love going. I do wish that, and look, I understand times change, but I do wish they at least had the same attitude, it seems, that they used to when I was a kid.
Uncle Walt will be rolling in the frozen head vault.
Let's see, but yeah, so why not change it all together? But yeah, I was told, it fits in Frontierland because of the Louisiana Purchase. I don't agree with that either. Wow.
Mind you, this is in a context of an era where we can decapitate the statues of Thomas Jefferson, the guy that made the Louisiana Purchase.
The thing is it's like saying that your steak is dessert because it's part of the meal.
Yeah.
You know, you're buying all of it. So why isn't this the same as that? Since it all goes together, it's part of your meal. I don't know. It just doesn't fit. Yeah. I may have missed something, but what original idea have they had since Frozen? Well, yeah, look, as far as the movie's concerned, they did Moana, and I like that one. That was pretty good. As far as the attractions are concerned, they created an entire new land for Star Wars, and that pissed people off because it wasn't original, or it was original. I had a great time when I went out there, but I went out to enjoy myself and to talk to the team members who I heard were supposed to act
geek out about the Millennium Falcon. Let's be
and to do that as well. But the team members were supposed to play as if they were in a world on Star Wars, and they did. So when I walked around, I talked to them as if they were characters in Star Wars, and it was a blast. It was a great time to be had. Yes, I saw all the haters, and you know what? They went in hating it. You see them. Oh, well, this sucks. Look at this. And they could have done it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know where this video is going. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not enough of a grumpy old man that I actually enjoy Star Wars ride and all that kind of stuff. But I do. I think it's fine.
I remember when you first told me in Pixel about your reaction to the Millennium Falcon. It was one of the most sincere and wonderful things I think I've ever heard.
Oh, it's so cool. I mean, it's like I was taken back to childhood, man. Really, when I started, I looked at it and I swear to gosh, without hesitation, I went, "What a piece of junk." And it is amazing. It really is. You know, I didn't mean it because really on the inside, I'm like, oh, but oh my gosh, you have to say those words. It's just like when you found out that DeForest Kelley died and you read in the newspaper, everybody went, he's dead, Jim. You know, it's it's just one of those things. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. Anyway, let's wrap this thing up here. Let's see. We'll get a couple of them. Some I could think of. Oh, Coco is a beautiful movie. Inside Out, Big Hero 6, Zootopia.
I liked Onward as well. Onward was.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't been able to make the leap. I've been wanting to do a watch party of it, but we're never going to do one of them. We keep talking about them, but we never do them. But yeah, I haven't seen Onward yet.
We haven't done a watch party for this channel since Princess and the Frog, I think, ironically.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. It's something when you actually put full movie commentary, watch party, blah, 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 and people think it's the full movie. I get comments. Where's the movie? Like I'm going to put an entire Disney movie on my channel. Get real. Okay, that's going to get you shut down fast.
But then again, people do it, and they are
surprised
when bad things happen to them.
Yeah. All right, gang. Thanks a lot, and welcome, Laram. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed the chat. Jim, thanks for hanging out, and that's all I got to say about this particular thing, man. Look, and just to sum up, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the Princess and the Frog. I just don't think that Frontierland is the place to put it.
Yeah, no.
So anyway, once again, thank you very, very much for hanging out with us, and thank you very, very much for watching, and have a zippity-doo-dah day. You know I had to end that way.